In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Um, we're going to continue with the divided line. We took the time out for Advent and then that hiatus for those 2 weeks. And so we're going to continue because we have to go into the divided line of Plato, which leads into the forms, which is really the original contribution of Plato to Western philosophy, and his most significant one, which I asked you to look up and reflect on the forms and what the forms meant, if you remember. All right. We look at the divided line, and the metaphor of divided line is really a systematizing of the allegory of the cave. And I gave you a paper, gave you a copy of the divided line, which all of you have, or had anyway. And I think it's important to that we go through that in a little more systematic way, because we want to go from uh, the journey, because you can do parallels between the cave and the divided line. And if you look at the divided line that you have there, um, it has four, I suppose, squares or rectangles. And the larger one, pardon me? You have, everybody has one? Should. Well, did you get one? You never, okay. Does everybody, y'all have one? Divided line? Okay, do you have, everybody has one that I gave? Um, we're going to stop at 8 o'clock, so, uh, yeah. Does everyone have one? Okay. So if we look at this, there is a distortion here. Really, the bottom part, the visible world, should have the larger of the blocks, and the one up above, where we get into the intelligible world, that is smaller. So really, just reverse the blocks for obvious reasons, because there's much more of the visible world than the intelligible or invisible world that requires real thinking. And the highest form of thinking for Plato is contemplation. So well, we have to get into that. Now, if you look at your divided line handout there, uh, the lowest, and we're going to talk a little bit more about each one, but the lowest level is actually imaging or imagining. It is very much like the people who are. Does everyone have one of these, please? I mean, I have to write on it. Does anyone else not have one? I only have one. Did you get a copy? Yeah, well, she's got one. You have it? You do? Okay. No, no, you were just mistaken. And all right. So if we look at this, um, this handout here, such as it is, the lowest level is that of imaging or images, and it really corresponds to the people who are chained and fixed to look at the cave wall, where all they have are images that are up there, reflections from the objects in the back with the light onto the wall. You remember that. And images um, are the simply a opinion, and they're based upon the visible world, but they're not even the objects themselves or the visible things. It's the world of shadows. It's the world of darkness. In order to cast a shadow, you have to have some darkness or something to allow the shadow to develop. So this is a state of the lowest even awareness of anything. The second level is the level of belief. That is, you're now looking at the visible object itself, the particular object, whether it be a person, a desk, an animal, etc. So that's the particularity of it. And the problem with that is uh, that helps you to form your beliefs. But beliefs are, as you know, pluralistic. There's many of them, which is often dependent upon such things as your historical time, depending upon your culture, your socioeconomic position, your own biography. All of that affects your belief system. So therefore, you have a multiplicity of belief systems. And the question naturally arises, which one is correct? Which is the best one? So, but the mind is not satisfied with that. The human mind wants certainty. It's looking for wholeness and oneness. Uh, and that you don't have that. What you have is what today we call, and what Pope Benedict uh, warned about very, very often and very long, as well as Pope John Paul, you have a kind of cultural and historical relativism which undermines the notion that there is such a thing as truth and right and wrong. Because you can get an anthropologist such as Ruth Benedict or even Margaret Mead or one of these people who go around to the Samoan Islands and various other places, and various cultures do things differently. You have some societies that are uncular societies. That is, what we call the father has no real paternal responsibilities or obligations toward the child or the wife. The child is raised by the uncle inside the uncle's family, etc. The father's role is to simply copulate and supply the sperm with the wife, and then that's it, hands off. And it's passed on to them to take. Now, which one is better? Well, they would say it works for them, so it's all right. It doesn't work for us. That's not what we do. So you get into this relativism when you have this plurality or multiplicity, because you always have to say which one is the better one or the best, and then you have to supply the reasons why. Why is it best? That your model of what a family is may not fit with their conditions, their history, their culture, their circumstance, etc. So that then causes what we might even call a kind of paralysis of choice. If you have all of these things you can choose from, well, we all want to choose the best or the better. Well, which one do we take? Well, and then we come up with the idea of my truth, my moral compass, my thing, so on and so forth, like that. So then there's no objective, moral, or truth itself by which one can base one's life and one's direction. So when you have beliefs, and it's simply a belief, well, that's what I believe. Uh, Today we often say, well, that's how I feel. Okay, I believe that's how you feel. And there are some people who say, I think wrongly, so does Aristotle, that there's no such thing as wrong feelings. Oh, yes, there are. Of course there are. You can't have a wrong feeling. Yes, you can. You can have a disordered feeling. I decide I want your purse. So in order, you won't give it to me. So I wait, because I know you. So I wait outside, and while you're walking to your car, I slap you on the head, grab your purse. And you know what? I feel good about it. I was successful. I've always wanted to hit her on the head. Uh, Not really. Uh, and all of those kind of things. And I said, I really felt good about that. I'm proud of myself. Well, yes, I'm telling you how I honestly felt. I did. But I think most of us would say, well, there's something wrong with that. That's a disordered, that's a disordered feeling. A person who gets delight, for example, in torturing animals or torturing people, they like it. They do. But I don't think any of us would want to trade places with that person or would want to raise our children to do that. No, there's something disordered about that. So when we get down to the notion of a feeling, well, because somebody says, well, that's the way I feel. That's supposed to stop the conversation, as if somehow feelings become the magisterium or the imprimatur of okay behavior. I can have disordered feelings. That's usually referred to as a kind of emotional pathology or an emotional disorder. Person has an emotional disorder. And it's not just simply panic or anxiety or this or that. It's also, what do we take pleasure in? What gives us pleasure? And if torturing people or torturing animals or stealing or doing these other kind of things gives us pleasure, then there's something wrong with that because of the fact that it's not only good, it's not a good for ourselves, it's not good for that person. And if it's good for me to do that, to slap you in the head and take your purse, and that gives me, and don't object to that, please. Don't object to that. Then what prevents her from doing the same thing to this poor silent person here? Huh? Because she's not going to say anything about it. We know that. So, and she grabs up. She says, well, somebody did it to me. Well, oh, isn't that the two wrongs and the right and all that sort of nonsense? That that's the problem. Um, so we have that. So at this particular level, you do not have knowledge. You do not have knowledge for Plato. It's not knowledge. And if you notice, there is a separation between the two at the bottom. There is a gulf there between them. This becomes at the point of what we call metanoia or conversion. You have to cross over. You have to turn from this. You have to turn from the cave, from the shadows, from simply looking at objects. Why? Because appearance can be quite deceptive. The Bible is filled with that. You do not judge by their appearance. David is chosen, shepherd, this and that. And, God says, do not judge by appearance. We know that. And we also know imaging. Imaging is very much related to belief because it places or seeks elicitation of belief in the image. And we have the modern cave. Everybody who thinks we've outgrown the cave, go home and turn on your television. That's the modern cave. And it's based upon imaging. You have to look presidential. You have to look a certain way. Whose pictures on these fashion magazines? What sells? What's the body type? And all of that. Sometimes with very devastating consequences. Young girls, especially, and even older people. somebody who's 20 and 30 and thinks she has to fit into a size 2 dress, whatever the size is. That's absurd, especially if you happen to have a large skeleton, if you happen to be quote unquote big boned. Well, if you're big boned, you're not going to fit probably in a size 2 dress. That's absurd. Uh, it's unhealthy, and many of them, it kills them with bulimia and anorexia and all of this other sort of stuff. How many images you see? What is the image of the guy, the man? Just go into the grocery store. No, don't go in the grocery store. Go someplace that won't rip you off, because that's my latest crusade is against them people. But go and look at how many billions of dollars is involved in the cosmetic industry. You notice how many ads now are flooding the market with this stuff that you rub under your eyes, huh, to keep the bags away. And now it's advertising it's for 10 hours it'll keep it that way. Oh, this is amazing and wonderful. Well, I want to see you at the 11th hour when under your eye looks like a steamer trunk. Forget the bag. It's now this big. You got to get more of that junk on there and put that on there. And I thought this was supposed to be au natural. And all of that. We fail to see the beauty of growing old, of having the line marks of life on your face and things like that. We don't appreciate that anymore. We have tons of plastic surgery and Botox, where again, after 5 years or 3 years, whatever it is, they look like burn victims. It's true. And it's just this illusion of I'm young, I'm this and that. Over the years, I've talked to many women who their husbands are quote unquote professionals and in big high positions and all this kind of nonsense. And their great fear is that they're going to be replaced by the latest model. And so what do? They spend a great part of their time in the gym with the plastic surgeon or with some kind of trainer or something like this, as if they're a herd animal. It's incredible. And they're miserable. They eat twigs and, I don't know, leaves or something like that because they can't put anything on, heaven forbid. They live with a scale. And this is insane. Yet, that's the cost. That's the cost today of this kind of stuff, images. And anybody who thinks commercials and images don't work, ask yourself for a 10-second, forget about 30-second, what is the cost for an advertisement on the Super Bowl for a 10-second or a 15 or 30-second? You got to be kidding. Right. Hundreds of thousands, if not a billion or more. Over 1 million. It's enormous. Now, these people are not doing this because they have nothing else to do with, this is not conspicuous consumption because it's effective. And you keep getting the same commercials over and over and over again. It's an image machine. It's an image machine. And we want to give a certain image. And so we act a certain way. We dress a certain way. And we assume that that's the person. And very often we say, gee, I'm surprised. My goodness, they acted so differently. Okay, because you bought the image. And you have people who are spin doctors and all these other kind of people who press agents and these kind of consultants on the image you put out there, and so on and so forth. So you say the right words and all this kind of stuff. So we the cave has not left us. It's only got more intense because it's more sophisticated. It's more powerful, uh, and it, uh, it gets into our head. Again, I go back to the idea of the Catholic from the 1950s, which you should read the book, Marshall McLuhan. The message, the medium is the message. The medium went to communion every day. And he's the first one to warn about this. The message is simply the thing they pass out. What we're overlooking is the medium that it comes through. The medium that it comes through. That gets into your head. It affects your brain. It affects the way we have it today is just out of control. But this smartphone where we get dumber. This is the golden calf of today. This thing right here, see, and even when you say, "Well, I'm going to read an article," you're bombarded with these things, these messages, or these little stupid advertisements, and things like that, and so on and so forth, like that. And it's incredible. We take the cave with us. This is it. So we look back and we say, "Oh, well, that's just foolishness. That's not." No, it's not. No, it's not. And we believe that this is reality. See, again, my life. This is my life. My life is on this thing. Now, unpack that. See, we all laugh and snicker at it, but for many people, this is. They would give up anything rather than this thing, because their life is on here. Everything about it's there. It's there. My God, where is it? I don't know. Could you play your cell phone so I could find mine? I thought, oh, well, oh, excuse me. I wish it. No, I don't wish it would have fallen, but wouldn't have been bad. So anyway, Plato says it's not knowledge. It's far, far away. It's this conversion that needs to take place, this metanoia. You got to cross over. And this is a painful process. It's very painful today. It's very painful because we are addicted to these things. We are addicted to them. The computer, this thing, so on and so forth like that. And as soon as they go down, oh my, tell me what happens. Everything stops. Everything stops. Call up and want to put an order or go into the bank or go somewhere, and they say, "Well, my thing is down, the server or whatever they call that stupid thing. It's down. It's down." Well, what does that mean? Well, we can't do anything right now. We can't do anything right now. And you're in control? Are you kidding? You can't do anything. So the person who has a piece of paper and a pencil and can do something, they actually are in a better position than you with all your stuff. Okay. Anyway, it's a painful process, as it is for the guy who breaks free or who somehow gets free. He's got to walk through that cave and make his way. And as he goes, his goal is to get, because there's an entrance there. And as he gets there, he's getting toward, represented by the sun, the bright light. And the closer he gets to it, the harder it is because the light becomes more intense. The light becomes more intense. Like being from the darkness and solitary confinement and then going into the light. Even for in a movie theater, walking outside, that brightness gets you. Okay? So it involves pain. It involves a struggle. Yeah, there's nothing easy about this. to walk, to go over that separation there. That's why it's separate. You're now entering knowledge. And uh, thinking begins, thinking begins when you're looking for uh, not simply the particular, but you're looking to go from the particular to the universal. That's what you're looking to do. In other words, the universal is the essay or the essence, the being, or that which makes a thing what it is, particular to its uh, species, to its nature. So you have an object, a cat. Well, you look at and you look at this and you say that's a cat, and this cat happens to be a Siamese cat. Happens to be a Siamese cat. Okay. Person comes in, and they have one of these tabbies or something, whatever the thing is, like that. And you say, what is that? I don't know. What do you mean? That's a cat too. That's a cat, and that's a cat. And then somebody brings in a feral from, comes from the orphanage or something. Parents have the morals of an alley cat. And so there's the poor thing there. And you say, that's a cat. You say, that's a cat, and that's a cat. No, they don't look alike. Oh, they don't look alike. I'm back to the particular. Isn't this? And you know that's true when you do mathematics with children, especially when you use an object. So you put 3 balls there. Oh, let's put it this way. Put 3 apples there. You say 1, 2, 3. And you take 3 oranges and you put them there. And you say, what's that? I don't know. Say 3 oranges. No. No, that's 3. This is, the child hasn't got into the concept of what a symbol or concept is yet. The child has not universalized the concept itself with numbers. So when you start with an object, it's very, very frequent that if the object is not the same in look, etc., the child will become confused as to what you're talking about. So when you get into thinking, you're looking for the universal, and you're looking for a mathematical object. What is that? Triangle, huh? Triangle, right? What is that? They don't look alike. The reason he's able to say triangle, triangle, or triangle, triangle, is because his mind was able to abstract the essence, in other words, triangularity, a 3-sided figure. These do not look alike in any way, shape, or form in terms of exactly alike. They're not congruent, one on top of the other. But they meet the essence of what a triangle is. Triangle. Hence, it becomes what we call self-evident. A self-evident truth is a truth that cannot be denied unless one contradicts oneself. What is a triangle? Three-sided figure. Now, if I hold that a triangle is a three-sided figure, all three-sided figures are triangles. And I say, well, that's a triangle. No, that's not a triangle. Maybe this one, it fell over. That's a triangle, but not this one. What would I be doing if I said this is not a triangle and this is not a triangle? Based upon what you told me, it's a three-sided figure. All right? I'm wrong. Why? Yes. It's self-evident because by reason you grasp that they have three sides. They have three sides. I'm not going to give you a definition. I'm not going to give you a definition. What is that? Now, what led you to say that that all of those things are rectangles? Your mind was able to grasp, although they may be different sizes, location, shape, weight, whatever, your mind was able to what? To abstract what is common. Not the size. Size is not common. Position is not common. The angles are not common. But what is common? Four sides. You were able to do that. Your mind has matured to that particular level that you are able to abstract. The same thing with a person. Sandy is what kind of being? He's a human being, yes. Yeah, no, because if you say he's a male, he's a male being. Well, then what is she? Not? Well, she's a female. So then the question then arises, well, can I predicate then human being and human being? Yes. Why? He's not her and she's not him. Why? What do you mean, same being? What does that mean? Same being? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, what do you mean? What is making you say humanoid, not humanoid, human? And what is that essence? No, you're in the circle. I'm asking you what the being is, and you're telling me it's your It's your being. And I say, what's the being? And you say, well, it's my being. Huh? Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? That's just a Latinx, huh? Same creator. Really? I think God created the animals. God created the trees. God created the stars. The evidence. I'm asking you, what is the essence of being of a human being, for God's sake? You have a soul. You have a soul. You have a mind. So what do you have? You have an intellect, I think. Okay? And in addition to that, what do you have? What do what are you, Mr. Spock? Do you have just a mind? Whole bunch. Look at the essence of me. What is unique to you as a species? What? We already have that. Is that all? What else defines you? Free will. My God, do y'all value it that little? Well, sometimes it makes you heroic and a saint. So it does depend on free will, doesn't it? Uh, those things, those are the two defining aspects of your being that separates you from other animals. Huh? You are the Homo sapien. Huh? You are Aristotle says you're the rational animal. Rational. Are you an animal? Yes. Are you rational? Yes. And you have free will. Aristotle says uh, three, three kinds of souls, three types of souls: vegetative, animal, and rational. Does the human being have a vegetative soul? Of course. No? Um, well, um, let's think about this for a moment. Are you sensate? Are there flowers and growth that are sensate? Hmm? Are there? Uh, what happens if you touch some of these flowers? Yes, they close. What does that mean? It means they feel. Yes, they sensate. Oh, what about you? Yeah, yes, you see, there you go. Um, do they need water? Do they get thirsty? Will they die if they don't get it? Do they have to be fed in some level? Do they grow? Do they reproduce? Does a human being have a vegetative soul? Yes. Wonderful. Okay. Do you have an animal soul? Hmm? Yeah, you do. Huh? You feel, you experience pain, and at some level, you have even a degree of what we might call low-level animal intelligence. That is, the animal can learn by rote to perform tricks and understand the name and the sound of the voice. So there is some level above that of a rose bush, above the level of a rose bush, because it has more mobility, more comprehension, etc., and so on and so forth. I realize the people from the National Florist Society will have something else to say, but we don't care about them at the moment, okay? Now, so we have this, but we also have this. Why? What do we have that these do not have to any degree of quality or quantity that these do not have? We have intellect and free will. Wonderful. Yes, that's right. I'm going to die. That's right. That's what we have. We have that. So we are able to have these things while also realizing how much we are also a part of the natural created order itself. You see? Now, which of the three souls is superior to the other? The rational soul. Rational soul. See? We have more intelligence and all of the other things. Now, I realize we're all now addicted to this artificial intelligence and all of this, which the way I understand it, which is more than primitive, but that you can do all kind of things, just give them something and they can write something for you and plagiarize for you. They can give you all kind of answers and this and that. But it's basically based upon what someone put into it, into the algorithm or logarithm, whatever the thing is. And then they can get a copy of your style or something like that. Or you tell them what you want, and they can write you a song, words to a song and all. But not in and of itself by itself. It requires an input from something beyond itself. Whereas human beings can take something and create something new out of it, create something that brand new. What they tend to do is to fit that which is already kind of prepackaged. But in human beings, we have the creative advance. We can create beyond just the givens. They have so much in there. That's why you have now all kind of different kinds of AI things that people are addicted to. I saw yesterday that now you have AI glasses. You can have AI in your glasses and take it with you and just punch things up and it'll all just appear on the inside of your glasses like a little teleprompter and so on and so forth like this. And we think this is a wonderful advance. Okay, I'll leave it to you. Um, where is the human in this? Anyway, uh, so thinking um, is looking beyond the particulars to the universal, able to abstract and therefore to generalize. In other words, take, what time has it been? Okay. You have the scientist and you have the jurist. Uh, the scientist does an experiment. And after the scientist does an experiment, he does what? As he's doing the experiment, what is he doing? Very good. He's recording the results, his findings. Okay? Now, is he satisfied with that? No. With that? Very good. Very good. That's exactly right. You have to it has to have repetition in order to form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess based upon a sample. If I do it once and it comes out this way, it could be an abnormality. Uh, those people on television, it says anyway, I don't know, but you take these depression pills, and sometimes they say if you take them, you got to be careful because it can make your depression worse. It's a counterpositive. It can also cause bleeding. It can cause various other kinds of difficulties, and you have to. Why? Because the person has an adverse reaction. Why? 99% it works. We understand that. Yes, and if you're the 1%, you're the 100%. You know, like it's going to rain, 60% chance of rain. Well, if you're under the rain, it's 100%. Okay, so you have to test it, and then if you get beyond a certain point, you then you can hypothesize this, and then put it out as a hypothesis. And then you have to have peer review. You have to have other people in other places performing the same experiment and come up with what? The same results. That's what you have to have. If they have variations. Scientists love that. We want to see that. Why is there... This is Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty. Huh? Is it a particle or is it a wave? Sometimes it's a particle and sometimes it's a wave. Why? Because the principle of uncertainty says in science and in anything else, there is no such thing as purely an objective experiment or an objective result. Why? Because you as a human being enter into the experiment. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much you train. I don't care what you enter into it, and that affects, however slightly, the results that one may get. Now, most of the time, it's within a zone or within a bell curve of tolerance. Okay. But sometimes it's a wide variation. And if it's a wide variation, you want to know that. What did you do? Did you do that experiment again and see if the results you got came out? And then you do it again and it doesn't. Okay, do it again. And you do it again and it's the original one. It's what the other guy got. And you do it 10, 15, 20, maybe 1,000 times. And it's that, but you have this one. That's the one you want to really investigate. Why or what happened to get this variation to take place? And it didn't do it in these other. Is this just an abnormality that's unaccounted for now? So then, if you get enough weight behind it and so on and so forth, you can then take your hypothesis and put it forward as a law. As a law. It goes from a theory, hypothesis to a theory, to a law, and you may have to put Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty that takes place. Because many times you unconsciously, not on purpose, you influence the outcome. You influence what is taking place by the mere fact that a human element enters into it, which cannot be quantified. As you can a tablespoon of this ingredient or half of this, or you're not measurable. Human beings are not measurable because you're not quantifiable. You're a human being. See? So, a scientist will use the inductive method. Inductive. The inductive method starts from experience or a sample and then proceeds to draw a conclusion. The deductive method is the method that starts with a number of statements, a number of propositions. All men are created equal. Start with that. All men are created equal. John is a man. Therefore, all men are created equal. John is a man. Therefore, John is equal to all men. Now, you have three terms. You have the major term, minor term, middle term. You have a conclusion. If you say all men are created equal, John is a man, John is not created equal. Anything wrong with that? What statement?
All men are created equal.
Very good. It's a contradiction. It's a contradiction of your premise. Contradiction of your major premise. All men are created equal. Not some, all. Well, if all men are created equal, universal, and John is included in the category of human beings, and you say, but he's not created equal, doesn't make sense. Therefore, lest that seem academic, this is exactly the thing that at the founding of this country, in the forming of the Constitution, and that we went over, blacks are not human beings. We even went so far in the compromise, so-called compromise, they accounted for what, 3/4 or 1/5 or whatever it was, a slave, so that we could appease the South in order to get it passed. Because many of the abolitionists, those in the North, and religious people, and so on and so forth, wanted them counted as a full human being. They are human beings. They are human beings. And the Southerners were afraid of that. Southerners were afraid of that because they had many slaves, and they were afraid that they would develop and then overrun the South and so on and so forth, and upset the plantation system and all of this, and then they would get rights and everything else. So that took place. So what you have to do is you have to take men and define it in such a way that all can be applied to it. That ought not to sound strange. What is the basis of abortion today in its legality? It's not a person. It's not a person. It's a glob of cells. Well, that's what you do. What did Hitler do with the imbeciles? What did he do with the deformed? What did he do with the Jews? Well, we had to do something before that. You can't just go around killing people mass like that. You have to do something first to get people to get into it. Why? What did he do? What are we talking about? Less than human. Less than human. They didn't qualify. So if they don't qualify, then therefore they don't have the same protection and rights as a human being. That's right. That's right. They don't have the same thing. You have to demonize. You have to dehumanize before you can eradicate and somehow anesthetize your conscience and what's going on. That's what you have to do. And that happens across the board. That's what history teaches. You always take the population you don't want, and you have to dehumanize, then you demonize, Because when you demonize them, it means that they are a moral and mortal threat. And therefore, you have a right to do what? Eradicate them. Self-defense. And that's exactly what Hitler and the Nazis did. But that's what all tyrants do. That's what they do. You always have to do that kind of stuff. You see? So when you come to this element here, in terms of knowledge and thinking, you have the ability to abstract the essence. But you see what happens, that it's not just an intellectual problem. It's not just a thinking problem. It's also a problem of the will. And if you have a corrupt intellect, what I mean by corrupt, you grow up in a society or in a situation where you are subject to endless propaganda. Endless propaganda. People with blonde hair are stupid. Okay? And we know that. Huh? I mean, that's what they say. We know that they say that. That's what I meant. I had a little thing there in my throat. So that's what I'm told. People with blonde hair are stupid. And I grew up in that. And that's the pervasive thing. So, Marie comes along and she wants a job. Am I going to get her one? Nope. Why? Because she's stupid. See? Yes. Yeah. Well, but notice that. But that's what I've grown up with. Well, I grow up with that blacks are shiftless, lazy, drug addicts, gangbangers, criminals, and so on. That's what I grow up with. And they're inferior because they're really stupid. Because the images that I see, they all look like Calhoun the lawyer or Stephen Fetchit. And that's what I see. And that's what I grow up in. Well, what have I learned when I see a black? I discount them. That's right. Yes. Yes. And therefore, I can segregate, subjugate, and eradicate. Because that's what I've learned. You see? So the mere fact that one learns something, it's the time for the will, is not enough. I have to have something more. You see? And what is that more? See? What is that more? And what I would like you to do is and we're going to come to that last little part in your chart there, which is what? What is the last one? No, the last one at the top. At the top is what? The other side. The good, yeah, the good. And the good is there in capital letters, I believe. It's the highest of the forms. Truth, beauty, and goodness. The three forms. I really think it's important that you, because I'm going to complete this next time because we got to move on, that you please look up something on Plato's forms, or sometimes referred to as eternal ideas. The forms are the eternal ideas. And It's very important because it brings us to the highest level of thinking, which helps us a way into what is it, what is it that moves us? What is it that moves us from the lower level to the upper level? What is it? And what is this upper level? What is this upper level that very difficult to attain? It's also very limited. And what are the forms? What does he mean by the forms? So if you could look at that, because that's going to be very important in terms of creation, and we're going to look at that in the Catechism, in terms of creation, and what is the difference between the creation story in Plato and the creation story in Genesis? They have many things alike, but they also have very profound and significant differences, which causes a great deal of problems in our thinking today about this whole question. If you've noticed, and maybe you haven't, but right now there is a tremendous rush and regeneration of study of the book of Genesis. Hillsdale College now is offering a whole course on it, on Genesis. A number of recent books have come out on the book of Genesis, and so on and so forth like that. And so it's very important to take a look at the book of Genesis and the creation story. The first three chapters of Genesis. That very, again, not backbreaking reading. First three chapters. And we think we know it, but do we really? And what is it really saying to us? And how does it fit in with Plato's story of creation? And why does God create? And why does creation take place according to Plato? Why does creation take place according to Plato? And is there any connection between the two? Is there any connection between the two? See? Because that's going to be an important part of biblical and Christian theology in the study of creation. And creation is not buried back with the Scopes trial and Inherit the Wind with Frederick March and Spencer Tracy. It's very much present today. So if you could look at that, it will take us a long way. And next time we want to go into that. I'm going to stop now because I realize you need to get your academic legs under you again. And so if you could do that, that would be good. If you could look at those things, and we can then take off and then go into these things related to, because the Catechism has a number of important things to say about creation right at the beginning. Because if you look at your Catechism with the Creed, very, let's see, right there, page 54. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. And then it proceeds on from there. And it goes all the way down. Chapter 1 in the Bible, 54 to page 104, 105. That covers the creation in all of its intricacies and so on. And I think it would be a very, very good, helpful part, because we want to look at what Plato has to say who influenced Augustine, and what is the scriptures saying, and what is the catechism saying? So those three things: Plato, the scriptures, and the catechism. And that will give us a good insight to much of this renewal of interest in the book of Genesis, especially those chapters, those three chapters in the Bible, just 1, 2, and 3, few pages, not long. And then look at the catechism, about 50 pages. That's nothing. Read that. And then look up something on the forms and creation. Creation. And creation is handled in Plato's work called the Timaeus. Called the Timaeus. So if you look up Plato and you're looking for creation, look up Timaeus. 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 And you will have the Plato's version of Genesis, if you will. But of course, Plato wrote many centuries after the book of Genesis. But see the difference between the two and some similarities between the two. You can get summaries of it and so on and so forth. It's not a long book. It's not long. It's a little paperback about that long, about that thick, like that, the Timaeus. That's all it is. And it's fascinating that Plato was able to promulgate this. And we have no evidence that he had any contact with the Jewish scriptures. No evidence of that. But it's interesting to see what he comes up with, having no contact with the Hebrew Bible at all. And that'll help us into the idea of the forms, because what I want to do is I want to show you in the contemporary vein another resurgence with the very great and influential psychiatrist Carl Jung, or as we say, Jung, and Jung Hotel and all that used to have. We don't have it anymore. The Jung Hotel, we don't have it anymore. But Carl Jung and the question of the archetypes, because there's a relationship between the archetypes. See, Carl Jung was a student of Sigmund Freud. And for Jung, there's three levels in the mind. There is the conscious level, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. And the collective unconscious is very much related to the forms in Plato. Now, this is many times Freud and Jung had a separation over religion because Carl Jung very much believed in religion, believed in its importance, and that it could help individuals, and also learned a great deal about the working of the mind. And Freud's little treatises, little book on religion is called The Future of an Illusion, which tells you right there. And on that, they parted company, much like Plato and Aristotle, over the question of the forms. Plato taught Aristotle. Aristotle was a student of Plato. And it was over this that they split. Aristotle founded the the Lyceum, his own place of study, the Lyceum. Plato founded the Academy, first academy, commonly referred to as the Olive Grove, because they used to hold classes in Athens under this beautiful olive tree out there, and the Academia, the place of the olives, place of the olive tree. And that's where they did that, but they broke off. But they were never so close, Plato and Aristotle, as when they split up. And what I mean by that is their split up was not acrimonious. It was not hateful and all this kind of crazy stuff that you have today. It's completely different. Because Aristotle knew how much he owed Plato. Because Plato was his teacher. And Aristotle wouldn't have been Aristotle without Plato. And Plato wouldn't have been Plato without Socrates. So these kind of things, you see, we can break apart. without breaking each other. It's possible. Today's climate, okay, that's the problem. See, I can have a disagreement, but be indebted to those. Uh, leave you with this. Isaac Newton said, if I see further than other men, it is because I stand on the shoulders of giants. See, we have the Hebrew Bible, of which the Christian scriptures stands on that. We don't just have my Bible, the good news book here. It's not a Bible. It's not a Bible. It's not a Bible. The Bible has to have both. Again, the road to Emmaus, Jesus explains himself in light of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms. Now, Jesus couldn't have done his post-resurrection explanation to these guys if it wasn't for Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms. So we have to understand that we can part company. Parting company doesn't mean we have to part each other. See, but again, this is where our culture is today, and not to our advance, by the way. But anyway, so if you could do that for next time, and we'll spend more time on that, going into these other areas. But I think they're very, very illuminating, especially when we put them in light of many of the issues we face today. Although people don't know Carl Jung from Hung Gu Mai Pan or anybody else, it doesn't matter. You see, but we'll settle all that. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty and gracious God, we thank you for this time together, for the gift of the Holy Spirit, of knowledge and understanding. We ask you to please protect us going forward, especially as we enter this new year. May we do so with greater devotion to you and your holy will, greater service to the church, and may we truly be your sons and daughters in caring for others, especially those in need. And we ask you, please, to protect all those who travel home. May they do so with safety, and grant all